traveling companions in Iraq, Republican Chuck Hagel and Democrat Jack Reed. In describing their meeting today with Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, they say, in part, Iraqis want an aspirational timetable with a clear date for the redeployment of combat troops. They do not, according to Maliki, want an open-ended presence of U.S. combat forces. It goes on to say Maliki stated his hope that U.S. combat forces could be out of Iraq in 2010. That is similar to Obama's 16-month plan, poles apart from what John McCain says he knows the Iraqis really want, and substantially stronger than the White House, which has refused to use the term timetable, but has reluctantly signed on to what they are calling, quote, joint aspirational time horizon. We'll take you to Iraq in a moment, but first, CNN's Ed Henry's on the North Lawn of the White House tonight with the latest. Ed?
Well, Anderson, the significance is extraordinary. You now have the Iraqi prime minister here driving himself, jumping right into the middle of the U.S. presidential campaign and further driving a wedge between the two political parties and clearly coming down on the side of Barack Obama. Now, John McCain is trying to push back here by saying that the only reason why anyone, including Prime Minister Maliki, is having this conversation about more U.S. troops coming home is that the surge that John McCain supported and Barack Obama opposed is working, and that's giving the breathing space to have this conversation about bringing troops home. But McCain's pushback is being completely undermined by the fact that this really plays into what Barack Obama has been saying for so long in the campaign trail. And the irony, obviously, is that the only reason why Maliki has any credibility is that John McCain, President Bush, and others have been propping him up for the last couple of years, and now he appears to be turning on them, Anderson.
Well, what would be Maliki's motive to, at this point, really get deeply involved in the U.S. campaign?
Well, clearly Maliki has been in a politically precarious situation for the last couple of years. By pushing back against the Americans, that can only help him back home, standing up for Iraqi sovereignty. But also, you have to remember, right now Maliki is in intense negotiations with President Bush about the future U.S. presence on the ground in Iraq there. The president is under great pressure to get this done quickly for legacy purposes, to have something that goes beyond his own presidency. So the White House knows that Maliki's playing some hardball here. But aides at the White House and in the McCain camp as well have really been stunned by just how hard Maliki is pushing.
It was a shocker from Baghdad. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki all but endorsed Democrat Barack Obama's plan for pulling U.S. combat troops, telling a German magazine 16 months is the right time frame for a withdrawal. That seems to step on Republican John McCain's message that a timetable for pulling troops only helps the terrorists.
It doesn't in the slightest undercut the fact that it's based on conditions on the ground and that we have to maintain the progress that we have.
McCain says Maliki is still on the same page with the U.S. because there are caveats to any withdrawal, a posture that again puts the Republican candidate in sync with an unpopular White House.
It is solely based on conditions on the ground, which have improved and are likely to continue given the trajectory, as long as we work to cement the gains.
McCain and the president have previously talked about American troops coming home when the Iraqi government wants the U.S. to leave. But they're not saying that anymore.
It has to be based on conditions on the ground. But whenever you win wars, and we are winning, then we will be able to come home.
Maliki has different ideas. After initially saying the prime minister was misinterpreted in the magazine article, a spokesman said, in fact, the Iraqi government would like to see most U.S. combat troops leave by 2010. That's pretty much Obama's plan, giving the Democrat a clear lift during his trip to Iraq and other hotspots.
I've had a wonderful visit so far, and excellent conversations.
Putting the White House on the defensive could be a deliberate move by Maliki to strengthen his political standing within Iraq in advance of fall elections. It may also help him squeeze the White House during talks over the long-term U.S. role in Iraq. He already won a major concession Friday when the White House embraced a general time horizon for removing U.S. troops. This after years of the president rejecting what he called democratic timetables.
Now, Dana Perino stressed today that the U.S. believes the Iraqis do not want to pull out arbitrarily, and so that's different than the Democratic plans to set a firm deadline to withdraw U.S. troops. But is that a real difference, or is it just a semantical shift by the White House? We may find out as early as next week. That's when the White House hopes to wrap up these talks with Maliki about the future long-term presence there in Iraq. Anderson.
You know, the back and forth on this is confusing, and it's easy to get lost in the weeds. The bottom line, though, is that this seems to be a major shift on the part of the Iraqi government, whether it's for domestic political reasons in Iraq on the part of Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. But as of Friday, from the article in Der Spiegel to now, this is a big sea change for the Iraqis.
It is. Maliki has been on the same page with his president for so long. As I noted, President Bush has propped Maliki up. They've both had an incentive to sort of be in it together. It looks like, based on this magazine article, that Maliki is starting to split himself ever so slightly from this White House. And then over the weekend, the White House was saying, wait a second, you know, he's clarifying, he didn't really mean that. And then today, a spokesman for Maliki came out and reiterated exactly what Maliki said in that article, that basically he wants troops out by 2010. So the White House is in a very precarious spot. It is clear Maliki is starting to split himself from this White House, Anderson.
Ed, thanks. We're going to have more now on the broader trip that Barack Obama is taking and the bigger political picture. What Senator Obama is trying to accomplish as he makes his way west from Kabul, where he was this weekend, through the Middle East and Europe. Candy Crowley has tonight's Raw Policy.
Barack Obama is 6,200 miles from the nearest U.S. campaign trail. But as he steps into the international arena, the imagery sent back home is all-American, commander-in-chief-like. A helicopter tour of Iraq with David Petraeus, the general in charge of multinational forces. A chow-down with the troops in Afghanistan. Basketball with U.S. forces in Kuwait.
Senator, how's the trip?
Great so far. Thank you.
But if there is anything better in politics than imagery, it is timing, and Barack Obama has it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Politics and on-the-ground developments dovetailed in Afghanistan, where Obama visited with President Hamid Karzai and U.S. troops. The trip comes amidst a resurgence of al-Qaeda and an increase in attacks on coalition troops there. It lends weight to Obama's argument that the war in Iraq has distracted the U.S. from the real war on terror in Afghanistan.
We've got to have a clear strategic vision that uses all of our power, our economic power, our diplomatic power, our intellectual power, as well as our military power, to help make this world safer.
This trip could help bolster Obama's foreign policy credentials, though he told CBS he sees it more like laying the groundwork for his presidency.
The objective of this trip was to have substantive discussions with people like President Karzai or Prime Minister Maliki or President Sarkozy or others who I expect to be dealing with over the next 8 to 10 years.
Iraq ends Obama's Pentagon-sponsored portion of his trip. From there on out to Jordan, Israel, France, Germany, and England, it's a campaign-paid journey aboard the Obama campaign plane. His campaign insists this is not a campaign trip. It is an opportunity to discuss substantive issues with world leaders. It's a balancing act, looking presidential without seeming presumptuous, looking like a man who can help heal U.S. relations overseas, and still like a man who will stand up for U.S. interests, looking like a world player without seeming political. Candy Crowley, CNN, Amman, Jordan.
Well, let us know what you think about this trip, how it's going. Let us know on our blog. You can join the conversation. We're live blogging. AC360.com is the address. Up next, we're digging deeper with David Gergen, Gloria Borger, and Peter Bergen about the situation in Iraq and Obama's trip. Also, the Veep stakes, a new report that John McCain could be a lot closer to picking a running mate than anyone expected. There are actually conflicting reports on this. Let's take a look at who's in the running for both McCain and Obama. And later, we are tracking Dolly, a tropical storm right now expected to grow to hurricane strength. CNN's Chad Myers tonight is following the late bulletins, crunching new numbers. We're expecting to get an update shortly. We'll bring that to you as soon as we get it live ahead on 360.
Barry King tomorrow night. Ben Stein battles Fran Drescher and Joy Behar on 2008 election issues. Can these political opposites attract your attention? They'll duke it out over Obama, McCain, and more. Barry King live. CNN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
In these challenging times and difficult markets, you can always count on the strength of Merrill Lynch. The strength of a firm that has navigated difficult markets before. The strength of our commitment that our clients always come first. The strength of 16,000 financial advisors who have the leadership and intelligence to help you achieve the life you want to live.
At eHarmony, we pre-screen each and every member for you, to determine your matches based on compatibility. Aren't you curious to see who you'd be matched with? Log on today and review your matches for free. eHarmony.com.
Happiness is fat money. Until August 15th, get an even chunkier rate of 3.50% APY, 9 times the national savings average, and watch your money get fatter. Open an HSBC Direct Online Savings account and say goodbye to skinny savings.
Every day, millions of people choose to do the right thing. There's an insurance company that does that too. Responsibility. What's your policy? Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Raw Politics. Brought to you by Liberty Mutual. Responsibility. What's your policy?
Barack Obama today with General David Petraeus, head of Central Command and architect of the so-called surge. Our breaking news tonight, more evidence of a major shift in thinking on the part of the Iraqi government. Iraq's prime minister again stating his desire to see American combat forces gone in 2010. Not vague goals, certainly not the kind of long-term commitment the Bush administration wants or John McCain envisions. Also breaking tonight, Barack Obama coming as close as he's ever come to saying he was wrong in opposing the so-called surge, telling ABC's Terry Moran he, quote, did not anticipate the convergence of not only the surge, but the Sunni awakening in which a whole host of Sunni tribal leaders decided they'd had enough with al-Qaeda. He pointed as well to Shia militias standing down and, sadly, the ethnic cleansing that drove Shia and Sunni out of direct contact. Now, he goes on to tell Moran, quote, I'm glad that, in fact, those political dynamics shifted at the same time that our troops did outstanding work. Now, this echoes what Obama said in a statement released just a few hours ago, saying violence is down significantly in Iraq, and he attributes it to, and I quote, the extraordinary efforts of our armed forces, more effective Iraqi security forces, the decision by the Sunni awakening to fight al-Qaeda in Iraq, and the ceasefire by Shia militia. Digging deeper now with CNN senior political analyst David Gergen and Gloria Borger, also CNN national security analyst Peter Bergen, who was recently in Iraq. David, what do you make of these moves now by the Maliki government saying it wants American combat troops out of Iraq in 2010?
It's a dramatic shift, Anderson, and it's been this drumbeat has been now coming since last Friday, as you just pointed out, and it's very clear that as elections approach in Iraq, Maliki is asserting a certain kind of nationalism there, and it's a shift which does bolster Barack Obama's argument, just as President Bush sending an envoy to talk to the Iranians this last weekend bolstered his position. But let me add a contrarian point. I think it was Barack Obama made the first mistake of his trip, in my judgment, in releasing a statement in which he said exactly what Maliki had said in those conversations. We have a long tradition in this country that we only have one president at a time. He's the commander-in-chief and the negotiator-in-chief. I cannot remember a campaign in which a rival seeking the presidency has been in the position of negotiating a war that's underway with another party outside the country. I think he leaves himself open to the charge tonight that he's meddling, that this is not his role, that he can be the critic, but he's not the negotiator. We have a president who does that. So, and I think the underlying facts support him, but I think it would be a real mistake, and I think it was a mistake to get into these conversations and not let it be used politically.
That's interesting. Gloria, do you think this is the first mistake he's made on this trip?
It's very interesting. I do agree with David. And Candy in her earlier piece talked about walking the fine line between being this candidate and being presumptuous. And I think that he may just have crossed that because, you know, it is a tradition. You don't talk about these private conversations. And it's not up to Barack Obama right now to negotiate troop withdrawals. It's up to Barack Obama to be on a fact-finding mission, which is indeed what he has said he was on.
Peter Bergen, John McCain has been hammering Barack Obama, saying, look, he didn't support the surge, and had it been up to him, you know, the surge would have never happened, and the successes that have occurred would have never happened. Obama is replying, basically, by saying, well, look, it's not just the so-called surge. It's not just the remarkable hard work by U.S. troops, which he acknowledges. He says it's also more effective Iraqi security forces, the Sunni awakening, and this decision by Shia militia to have a ceasefire. Is he right?
I think, in short, yes, Anderson. I mean, the surge is one of many factors. I mean, there was a major change in strategy, a rethink on the counterinsurgency strategy in Iraq. The surge was one part of that. Secondly, you know, Al-Qaeda basically self-inflicting a whole series of defeats on itself, antagonizing the very community it was based in, the Sunni community. Thirdly, you know, Sadr suggesting a ceasefire. The Shia militias being taken out in Basra and Sadr City by the Iraqi army, a rather large and rather effective Iraqi army now. There's a whole series of factors. If it was merely the surge, the violence would be up again. We've seen that the violence continues to trend down, and there are some fundamental underlying reasons for that.
How does John McCain now react? I mean, if you have the president of this country, al-Maliki, saying, you know, or excuse me, the prime minister saying, you know, he wants U.S. troops out by 2010 as an aspirational timeline, you've got to kind of recalculate if you're John McCain, no?
I think it has put him on the defensive, Anderson, but a couple of things. One, the head of the Joint Chiefs, Admiral Mullen, has just said in the last 48 hours he thinks it's a mistake to set deadlines, and hard deadlines, that there can be aspirational deadlines, but hard deadlines are a mistake. Secondly, John McCain does bring great credibility to this argument because the surge, combined with these other factors, has, I think, been a great success in the minds of the American people, has been a success, and Barack Obama is now acknowledging that. So I think there is a question of what's the long-term strategy for the region, and how do we withdraw in a way that strengthens stability in the region? And I think the getting out by 2010 may or may not do that. One has to sort of consider that in a whole, but overall, is John McCain on the defensive? Yes, but does he have some counter-arguments? I think he does, and I think he may come back on this question of Barack Obama is not the right person to be negotiating the end of this war right now. Let the commander-in-chief do that.
You know, Anderson, just recently, both Democrats and Republicans were talking about this prime minister as somebody that we couldn't depend on, somebody we couldn't trust. And I'm wondering now that he seems to be taking sides here, whether you're going to hear that again, particularly from Republicans. And he's clearly doing this for his own domestic internal reasons. And so, you know, maybe there's going to be a move on to sort of discredit the prime minister and sort of talk about why he's doing it.
Peter Bergen, thanks for joining us. We're going to have more from Gloria and David coming up. Just had a new report tonight that John McCain may be close to tapping his running mate. Now, we got conflicting reports from different sources on this, actually. But tonight, we're going to take a look at who's on top of McCain's short list, and how about Barack Obama's search for VP. Is Hillary Clinton still a possibility? Our political panel has been making calls. They'll give us the latest. Plus, Tropical Storm Dolly barreling across the Gulf of Mexico tonight, gaining strength, approaching hurricane status. Where and when is it going to hit? We're expecting a new update within the hour. We're going to bring it to you live. Latest details ahead.
You see a troubled steel business. At Franklin Templeton, we saw a chance to invest in a re-engineered steel company poised for a turnaround, building strong returns for our fund shareholders. Perspective like this has made Mutual Series a leader in value investing. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Ask your advisor for a prospectus with investment goals, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
Blue Downs tonight, tomorrow night, 7 Eastern on CNN.
Doesn't anybody deserve a government that works?
Do it! CNN, Soledad O'Brien, a year-long investigation that affects every American. See what it means today to be Black in America. Wednesday and Thursday night on CNN.
Inspiration. It can be elusive. Seems the harder you look for it, the farther it flees. You see, the truth is, you can't find inspiration in a place. But a place can very well help you find it within yourself. Your journey begins at visitben.com.
Did you know that Comcast's superior TV, internet, and home phone service are backed by 1,800 local employees who provide customer support 24/7? That also includes flexible service and installation appointments even on weekends. Comcast has a call center right here in Beaverton, 8 field offices and 15 customer service centers. From Southwest Washington to Eugene, there's bound to be one near you. Local customer service is just one of the many ways Comcast brings value to your community.
The most news in the morning, American Morning, CNN tomorrow, 6 a.m.
John McCain and the elder George Bush, the Bush family compound today in Kennebunkport, Maine. Mr. Bush knows all too well what it's like to campaign against a younger opponent with a gift for words and the ability to draw a crowd. It can be tough going. Senator McCain is getting a taste of it this week. Tonight, though, we got a tantalizing hint of how he might be planning to grab back the spotlight this week. Big time. That's a Dick Cheney word, by the way. Cheney was the surprise pick for vice president. Tonight's development concerns both a pick and a surprise. CNN's Dana Bash has the latest on that, and joining us again, David Gergen and Gloria Borger. Dana, what are you hearing about the timing of McCain's announcements? There was a Novak quote saying that some source of his had said this week there might be an announcement.
That's right. You know, the answer to that question, Anderson, you're not going to be surprised by this, but it depends who you talk to. You know, the McCain campaign, their official word is that it's not going to be today, just tonight. One of McCain's closest advisors on his plane said, well, I can't roll out tomorrow. Now, if there's a little bit of drama in that, that's not an accident. This is something that this is the ultimate in political code cracking, especially given the fact that our viewers should know that there is an order, there are strict orders inside the McCain campaign for people not to talk about this at all with reporters. But never mind the mystery of when this is going to happen, and of course who the VP pick would potentially be. There is a mystery in why we're talking about this tonight. Some say, I talked to who say, you know, it is because there were discussions that it could be this week. Others say, you know what, it got out there in that article you talked about, Anderson. And so if that helps to create buzz, to distract from Barack Obama's trip abroad, that's great. You know, we've talked about the fact that that there are some staff changes, many staff changes inside the McCain campaign. Some people I talk to say, wait a minute, the reality is we don't have basic staff. We're not ready for that. But John McCain's unpredictable. He likes to be. So
Gloria, is this just, have you heard, I mean, is this just a head fake by the McCain campaign trying to steal some attention?
You know, it could be a head fake. I think what's more likely is that someone inadvertently said something to Novak, which set off, you know, this total frenzy here in Washington this afternoon. And in the people in the McCain campaign that I've spoken with, that Dan has spoken with, that John King has spoken with, are saying, you know, yes, there have been discussions of maybe speeding it up to the end of the week, but that the candidate hadn't decided anything. It's clear that what this shows is that he's narrowed down his choices. Right. But I still think the more likely bet is not now, after Obama chooses.
All right, let's name some names. David, John McCain's going to meet in Louisiana with the Governor Bobby Jindal this Wednesday. He's rumored to be on the short list. Do you think he's a possibility? Who else do you think is a very strong possibility?
Possibility, but he's a future star. It seems unlikely. He's so young. He's just in his, you know, barely 37, 38 years old. Very little experience. I think Mitt Romney remains the most speculated about and possible. There are others who are, you know, McCain could go anywhere. I mean, if he goes this early, he could go. I mean, it suggests he could also go anywhere with a name. You know, to go this early suggests a campaign that's running scared. I don't think it gains very much. And you know, I sort of think it's not going to happen. And he also, there's great advantage when you have the second convention to wait and see who the other guy picks. Because you may want a game against that as much as anything else. So you know, since he has a second convention, there's always been a great advantage, it seems to me, to wait much closer and after the Democratic convention to take some of the bloom off the Democratic convention. Right. Not just this trip.
And Gloria, certainly some of the other names on the list, we're seeing Charlie Crist, Carly Fiorina, Tim Pawlenty. Any likelihoods there?
Well, I think Tim Pawlenty is someone that's really interesting because he appeals to the evangelical community. He's a governor, and he sort of balances out McCain. But to go back to the timing of this, I agree with David and Dana. I don't think this is likely to happen right now. I think it's possible that maybe somebody threw this out and said, let's do it now. All those press are over covering Barack Obama in Europe. Let's give them a story here that they're going to miss.
Dana, let's look at the Democrats. Who's on the short list?
Well, I mean, it's actually interesting, Anderson. The Democrats, Barack Obama is doing it in a very different way. He's being a lot more public about who's potentially being vetted. people who I talk to who are most interested, the people they're most interested in are Joe Biden. He, of course, is the Senate Foreign Relations Chairman. He is somebody who people think he is an extraordinary spokesman for Barack Obama on the issue where he might have the biggest deficit, and that's on national security. Another is Evan Bayh, another senator from the state of Indiana. He is absolutely beloved in the state of Indiana. Indiana has been a red state for a very long time, and having Evan Bayh on the ticket could help Barack Obama in that state, and that could mean the presidency for Barack Obama.
Dana, do you have a dog with you?
I don't, but I'm staying at a very nice place in Kennebunkport, and apparently one of the people who are staying here does.
Okay, that's
I'll
right.
get the name and
I'm a dog person, so
I'll get
it's
the
okay.
info for you.
David,
I know.
Chuck Hagel, Jack Reed are traveling with Obama on this trip. What are the chances of a Chuck Hagel being on the ticket?
Well, it's possible. It sounds more likely that he could be a Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, perhaps, and the Secretary of Defense is perhaps the role that would most fit him as a veteran of Vietnam, a man who's thought a lot about national security, and just as with traveling with Barack Obama, you know, and seeing the Afghans and the Iraqis, you know, he gives some weight and stature to this trip, and that statement they just issued, having Hagel on that statement helps Barack Obama.
Very briefly, Hillary Clinton, any possibility, you think, David?
Well, I think the door is still open. There are many around who think now that it's a more distant possibility, but I think a lot depends on whether he's 5 or 10 points ahead just before the convention.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Dana Bash, enjoy Kennebunkport. It must be nice up there. David Gergen and Gloria Borger. Still ahead, allegations of media bias after the New York Times rejects an essay written by John McCain. It's critical of Obama's Iraq policy. Is that why it wasn't fit to print? Was it fit to print? Also ahead, the arrest of an international fugitive responsible for the deaths perhaps of as many as 100,000 people. How did they finally catch this guy? And South Texas is under hurricane watch as Tropical Storm Dolly continues to gather strength. We'll have new information about the track of the storm from the National Hurricane Center. We're told to expect it any moment now. We'll bring it to you live coming up.
Now more than ever, you want to get the most for your money. Look no further than the rugged V6 2008 Kia Sportage. Fuel efficient, 5-star safety rated, backed by an industry-leading warranty, and it's priced about $6,000 less than a Toyota RAV4 Limited. Or to put it another way, a whole year's worth of groceries less. The Kia Model Year-End event. It's money well saved. Now get 0% APR or up to $3,000 cash back on the 2008 Sportage.
The new Dyson vacuum has a ball that allows it to turn on a dime. This ball also houses the technology that enables our engineers to make a small vacuum with the cleaning power of a big vacuum. The new Dyson, no loss of suction, small size, big performance.
为什么天亮的时候，云朵总是那么的暗？
All the beauty this world has to offer should be a gift for all to see. Sharing timeless values. Samsung.
Larry King tomorrow night. Ben Stein battles Fran Drescher and Joy Behar on 2008 election issues. Can these political opposites attract your attention? They'll duke it out over Obama, McCain, and more. Larry King Live. CNN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
Every American is an independent thinker. Get the facts from the only news channel to give you all sides. Get the facts. Demand the truth. We do. You do too. Declare your independence. Only CNN equals politics.
Closed captioning hours provided by Aspercream. Maximum strength medicine knocks out pain.
In the grip of nighttime arthritis, pain, and stiffness? Break it with new Aspercream Nighttime Lotion. It's maximum strength pain relief with a calming scent. Aspercream. Break the grip of pain.
On the move tonight in the Gulf of Mexico, Tropical Storm Dolly expected to gain more strength. Tonight, a hurricane watch is in effect for parts of the Texas coast. We're going to have the latest on the storm, a new update, where and when it may hit land coming up. But first, Erica Hill joins us with a 360 bullet on some of the other stories you're following. Erica?
Anderson, police in Oklahoma today released a frantic 911 recording they hope will help solve the mystery murders of 2 young girls gunned down 6 weeks ago. The caller you're about to hear is the grandmother of one of the victims.
Somebody killed 2 girls over my daughter, my grandbaby, and her daughter, Fran. I'm like, County Line Road. What happened now, man? I don't know. They went for a walk and they're both down here dead. Your daughter dead? They're dead. Your granddaughter? Yes, and my friend.
Girls had planned a sleepover the night they were killed. Their bodies were found in a ditch less than a half hour after they went out for a walk. The parents of Madeleine McCann today vowed to continue searching for their daughter as Portuguese officials halted their 14-month investigation into the British girl's disappearance. Madeleine vanished just days before her 4th birthday. It was during a family vacation. Her parents are no longer suspects, and that means they will now have access to police files that were previously off limits. The Food and Drug Administration is calling a contaminated jalapeno pepper a significant break in the salmonella mystery. Investigators found that tainted pepper at a Texas food supplier. They believe it may provide a clue to just how more than 1,200 people across 42 states have been sickened since April. Anderson.
All right, here's tonight's Beat 360 photo, Erica. Senator John McCain, former New York City mayor, and presidential candidate Rudy Giuliani, and his wife walked through Monument Park before yesterday's Yankees game. Here's the caption from our staff winner, Joey.
Stop. Joey won?
He won, yes.
Unprecedented.
He won pretty much every night. And right there in the bushes is where they caught A-Rod and Madonna.
And that's why he wins every night.
There you go. Very topical. Think you can do better? Go to our new website, ac360.com. Click on the Beat 360 link. Send us your entry. We'll announce the winner at the end of the program. The winner, of course, gets that fancy T-shirt. Just ahead on 360, the McCain campaign crying foul, accusing the New York Times of blatant bias. The paper publishing Barack Obama's op-ed on Iraq, so why did it turn down John McCain's rebuttal days later? I'll give you the facts, you can make up your own mind. Plus, one of the world's worst fugitives on the run for more than 10 years, finally caught. Does this man have the blood of more than 100,000 people on his hands? Christian Amanpour reports coming up.
Now you can do the dishes and still have lovely nails. The new Scotch-Brite Ultra Nail Saver Scrub Sponge. Specially designed grooves keep your nails out of the mess. Unlike these, which keep you in the mess. Or these, which are the mess. With absorbent cellulose for wiping. 5 different scrubbing strengths. Get it done right. Scotch-Brite.
In these challenging times and difficult markets, there are 2 pillars of strength you can count on at Merrill Lynch. The strength of a firm that has navigated difficult markets before, and the human strength of 16,000 financial advisors with the leadership and intelligence to let nothing stand between you and the life you want to achieve.
August 1st.
One single vote will decide this election.
The fate of the free world is in the hands of Bud Johnson.
Wow.
Swing Vote is a landslide comedy winner. It's smart, witty, and a non-stop laugh machine. Kevin Costner is pitch perfect.
America needs someone who's bigger than their speeches. Oh, boy.
In the one movie that's so inspiring, you'll stand up and cheer.
It's a whole song and dance.
Swing Vote, rated PG-13, August 1st.
A bad day is when your blood sugar is 30 or 60 when you're ready to go running 5 miles. Oh, it takes a lot of discipline. You can't wish away a hill or a mountain. You can't wish away your diabetes. You have to be ready for whatever life throws at you that morning. Using a blood glucose meter helps me course correct in the middle of a run.
The Contour Meter from Bayer. No coding technology means no coding errors and more confident choices.
My meter is a running partner. I'm Joanna Gary, completing a marathon. Now that's my simple win.
Beginning in 2 nights, CNN's Soledad O'Brien in an unprecedented investigation. Black in America. CNN, Wednesday and Thursday night, 9 Eastern.
Senator Obama, a minute ago, Jorge Ramos asked if there was anything we could get you, and you said, quote, "No, thank you, I'm fine." My question is, are you sure? Because it's really no trouble.
That's how our lives get skewering. The media's campaign coverage aired back in February, but the debate over fairness continues. Tonight, the McCain campaign and others are leveling new charges of media bias at the New York Times. For those critics, the story is simple. The paper recently published an opinion piece that Barack Obama wrote about Iraq, but days later refused to print John McCain's rebuttal. Up close tonight, we asked the question, is it really that simple? As always, we're going to leave it to you to decide. Here's the facts. 360's Randy Kaye.
A nearly 900-word op-ed by Senator John McCain, but the New York Times said no thanks, less than a week after it had published an op-ed by Senator Barack Obama titled My Plan for Iraq. Instead, the opinion page editor asked for another draft with more new information. It would be terrific to have an article from Senator McCain that mirrors Senator Obama's piece.
It asked for far more detail, and it wanted McCain to address the use of timetables. John McCain opposes timetables for withdrawal in Iraq.
Washington Post media reporter Howard Kurtz says the Times has an obligation to publish McCain's op-ed. The New York Times explains its standard procedure to go back and forth with an author. The paper points out it has published at least 7 op-ed pieces by McCain in the last 12 years, adding, "We take his views seriously." In McCain's op-ed written in response to Obama's, he criticized the Democratic senator for calling for an early withdrawal timeline.
We wanted to give them Senator McCain's side. Unfortunately, the New York Times wasn't willing to accommodate that request.
Politics is exactly what the McCain camp claims the Times is playing, accusing the paper of publishing the Obama op-ed and stiffing McCain, and noting that the op-ed's editor was once a senior speechwriter for a Democrat, Bill Clinton. Critics say McCain's problem goes far beyond the Times op-ed, suggesting the media isn't giving him enough airtime to compete fairly. Consider this. Network anchors and reporters are following Obama's every move in Iraq and Afghanistan. In the last 4 months, McCain has gone abroad to Europe, the Middle East, Canada, Colombia, and Mexico. No anchors tagged along. Some networks didn't even send reporters.
This has been a very cleverly stage-managed trip abroad in which Obama is doling out interviews to not just the 3 network anchors, but other television anchors and correspondents. And it is allowing him to dominate the dialogue, dominate the world stage at a time when John McCain is struggling to stay in the headlines.
CNN sent correspondent Candy Crowley with Obama, and John King covered McCain on his recent Mideast trip. According to a group that follows this stuff, Obama gets more than twice as much coverage as McCain on the broadcast network's weekday evening newscasts, 114 minutes compared to just 48. Same goes for the covers of Time and Newsweek. Journalistic fascination or media bias? Randy Kaye, CNN, New York.
So is this a case of media bias against John McCain, or is the Times justified in asking him to rework his op-ed piece? Joining me for a strategy session are Alex Castellanos, a Republican consultant and former advisor to the Romney presidential campaign. Also Jennifer Palmieri of the Center for American Progress and an 8-year veteran of the Clinton White House. Jennifer, what about this? Is the Times biased against John McCain in this regard?
I don't think so. I think that when I worked for President Clinton, the New York Times rejected many op-eds written by him as the sitting president of the United States. You know, they don't just give up space to a candidate because their opponent had space. You know, you can't go to the New York Times editorial page and say, I want to say what's wrong with the other guy. They want to leverage their space, which is very valuable, to force you to say something you haven't said before. And I think that they turned down they turned down McCain, not because they like Obama, but because McCain was all he was doing in his piece was criticizing Obama, and they wanted to put him on the spot to say more.
Alex, what's your take? I mean, the Times goes on to say, look, they've published him, some 7 times over the course of his career, and they even endorsed him as the Republican candidate during the primaries. Is there bias?
Well, evidently they've got a new favorite in this election, because I think Jennifer's right. They did want to force Senator McCain to say something he didn't want to say. They wanted to force him to say something he didn't believe. They said if he'd only had a timetable in his for withdrawal from Iraq in his piece, that's the kind of thing they were looking for. Well, Senator McCain doesn't believe we need an unconditional timetable.
They wanted him to talk about timetable.
They wanted him to talk about timetable, but that's not part of his plan. No, what they said is they wanted to know the details of his plan for victory in Iraq and timetables, and that's not something he believes. It's like saying, hey, Senator McCain, tell us about the details of your tax increase plan. Well, he doesn't want to raise taxes.
Jennifer, there's no doubt, though, that Barack Obama is receiving far more media coverage than John McCain. I mean, John McCain has received adoring media coverage over a good part of his career in the past. But, I think if you look at the surveys, it was mentioned in the prior piece by Randy, on the broadcast networks, Obama gets twice the amount of coverage that John McCain has. Is that fair?
Right. I mean, yeah, welcome to John Edwards and Hillary Clinton's nightmare. Obama's a great story, and I don't know that it's fair that he gets more coverage than McCain, but I understand, you know, I
Do
understand
you think
why
it's biased
it
that these media companies, including us, you know, are you saying that they support
No, I don't think
Obama,
that's it
or
at
is it
all.
just that
No.
he's an interesting story?
I don't think that's it at all. I don't think that this is about supporting Obama or believe, you know, and I believe that this is about who is a better story. And obviously Barack Obama is a really great story. And I think that the McCain campaign, you know, first of all, this is their base, right? The press had been their base, turning on them, and that's hard for them. But it was a very smart thing for them to release this New York Times email. I think that the media loves stories about themselves. I think that the media are likely to be you know, they're looking for a call from the ref for the, you know, as Hillary did when she was complaining about Obama's, the good press coverage that Obama got during her race. And I think they're looking for the media, maybe not to pay more attention to McCain, although they probably like that, but to have more scrutiny on Obama.
Alex, do you think it's as simple as Barack Obama's an interesting story? He's a newer on the scene. He's, you know, got this interesting background, and that's why he's getting so much more coverage? Or do you think the media is biased in favor of him?
Well, let's give Obama credit, and that's certainly part of it, but that's not all of it. There's an interesting dynamic developed here. One of the dangers for Obama is that he's perceived as the candidate of the elite in society, and even the media elite. And I think that dynamic is growing. Now you're seeing, you know, you have Barack Obama getting coverage now abroad as if he were the president of the United States. You have the New York Times shutting down John McCain here. There's a little guy versus the elite dynamic developing here that may be something that works in McCain's favor.
But hasn't John McCain been part of the media and Washington elite for, you know, decades now?
And isn't it interesting how the world turns? Because now the little guy who's not getting the coverage is McCain, and the new elite, the new favorite, is Barack Obama.
Alex Castellano, Jennifer Palmieri, thanks.
Thank you.
The world does turn. Up next, crime and punishment. A fugitive on the run for more than 10 years, finally caught. How long it took, why did it take so long to get this guy? Blamed for the deaths of more than 100,000 people. We'll have the latest live from CNN's Christian Amanpour. We're also expecting an update from the National Hurricane Center. Tropical Storm Dolly growing, moving fast. We know that. The question is, how big a hurricane could it be when and if it hits Texas? When 360 continues.
You are one person, but you can move a nation. You can walk with the purpose to end Alzheimer's by joining us for Memory Walk.
You invite 3 people.
And they'll invite 3 people. And before you know it, you have a team.
More than 5 million Americans may not be able to stop the progression of Alzheimer's.
But we can.
Step up.
Move a nation to end Alzheimer's.
Start a team today. Go to alz.org.
Testing. Check. Is Hertz there yet? Oh, here he comes, here he comes. Hey, Hertz. They came and got me. We came and got you. They came and got him. So, you'll bill my insurance? We'll bill your insurance.
They'll bill his insurance.
You're going to nail me with the replacement rates, right?
No, we even offer one-way rentals.
Who do they think they are? Yeah, who do you think you are? Hertz.
And you are?
Well, I'm not a spy.
Hertz Local Edition. It's another way Hertz puts you in the driver's seat.
One moment we were feeling spontaneous.
Surprise, I'm home.
The next, we are happily interrupted. Hey, there's no problem for guys like me with ED. There's Cialis. Cialis is the only erectile dysfunction tablet clinically proven to both go to work fast in as little as 30 minutes for some men and work up to 36 hours. No other ED tablet can do both. Sure, Cialis can work fast, but having up to 36 hours is a great option. And working only when it should means I can respond to Deb only when we're ready. Tell your doctor about your medical condition and all medications, and ask if you're healthy enough for sexual activity. Don't take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help if you experience an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease in hearing or vision, stop taking Cialis and call your doctor right away. Why ask your doctor about Cialis? Because when the moment is right, you can be ready.
More video, more news, more people saying, I just saw it on CNN.com.
Today, a major arrest of an international outlaw. The man known as the Butcher of Bosnia, Radovan Karadzic, was finally apprehended, indicted for war crimes and genocide by the UN Tribunal for authorizing the slaughter of 8,000 Muslim men during the siege of Srebrenica in 1995. The war in Bosnia killed more than 100,000 people. With tonight's Crime and Punishment Report, CNN's chief international correspondent, Christian Amanpour, joins me on the phone. Christian, how big a victory is this for those seeking justice, and how big a criminal is this man?
Well, Radovan Karadzic was responsible, along with his henchmen, for the worst slaughters in Europe since World War II, defining the word ethnic cleansing, concentration camps full of Bosnian Muslims, a mass rape as a tool of war, the most heinous crimes, sniping of civilians, shelling of Sarajevo, besieging of cities all over Bosnia. And these were heinous crimes that, in fact, he and his henchmen